Have you ever felt your heart start beating faster the moment someone asked you a question in English? Your hands suddenly felt cold. Your mouth became dry. You knew the answer, but your mind went completely blank. The words you had practiced so many times seemed to disappear, and all you wanted was for someone else to start talking instead. If you've experienced that feeling, I want you to hear something before we go any further. You are not foolish. Your English is not broken. And you are certainly not the only person who feels this way. Many English learners believe they have a language problem when, in reality, they're experiencing a fear problem. Their vocabulary hasn't disappeared. Their grammar hasn't vanished. Their brain has simply entered a state of stress, making it much harder to find the words they already know. Think about what happens when you're suddenly frightened. Your breathing becomes faster. Your muscles become tense. Your body prepares to protect you. That reaction is helpful if you're facing real danger, but speaking English isn't dangerous. Your brain simply hasn't learned the difference yet. That's why you may speak English quite comfortably when you're alone, but freeze the moment another person starts listening. The good news is that this fear isn't permanent. Just as your brain learned to connect speaking English with anxiety, it can also learn to connect speaking English with safety and confidence. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. You'll discover why fear feels so powerful, why most people aren't judging you as much as you imagine, and how small daily speaking exercises can gradually replace panic with confidence. You don't need to become fearless overnight. You only need to take one small step at a time. Because confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And today, we're going to start building it together. In the first part, we talked about what happens inside your body when you're afraid to speak English. Your heart races, your hands feel cold, and your mind suddenly goes blank. But here's an important question. What are you actually afraid of? For most learners, the answer isn't English itself. It's the fear of being judged. You worry that people will notice your accent. You worry that you'll use the wrong tense or forget a word. You imagine everyone in the room paying close attention to every mistake you make. But here's something interesting. Psychologists have a name for this way of thinking. It's called the spotlight effect. It describes our natural tendency to believe that other people are paying much more attention to us than they actually are. Think about the last meeting you attended or the last conversation you had. Can you remember every grammar mistake another person made? Probably not. Can you remember every pronunciation error? Most likely no. Why? Because you weren't analyzing every word they said. You were simply trying to understand their message. And that's exactly what most people are doing when they listen to you. They're not secretly counting your grammar mistakes. They're not waiting for you to pronounce one word incorrectly. They're listening because they want to understand what you're trying to say. Imagine a colleague from another country speaking English with a strong accent. They pause occasionally, make a few grammar mistakes, and search for the right word from time to time. Would you immediately think they were unintelligent? Of course not. You would probably admire the fact that they're communicating in a language that isn't their first. Now ask yourself an honest question. Why do you believe other people will judge you more harshly than you judge them? Very often, the strictest judge in the conversation isn't the person across from you. It's the voice inside your own mind. That voice says, "Don't make a mistake. Don't sound foolish. Don't embarrass yourself." But while you're listening to that voice, you stop listening to the conversation itself. Here's a new way to think about speaking English. Instead of asking yourself, "How do I sound?" try asking, "Did the other person understand my message?" That one question changes your focus from perfection to communication. And communication is the real purpose of language. Remember this principle. People remember clear ideas far more than small language mistakes. When your message is helpful, respectful, and easy to understand, most listeners won't remember whether you use the present perfect or the past simple. They'll remember the value of what you said. In the next part, we'll take this idea even further by changing the way you think about mistakes themselves. Instead of seeing them as proof that you're failing, you'll discover why every mistake is actually evidence that your English is growing stronger. Now that you understand most people aren't judging you as much as you imagine, let's talk about something that creates even more fear than speaking itself. Making mistakes. For many English learners, one small mistake feels like a public failure. They use the wrong verb tense, pronounce a word incorrectly, or forget a simple expression and immediately think, my English isn't good enough. That single moment becomes proof in their minds that they shouldn't have spoken at all. But here's the question I want you to think about. What if you've been giving mistakes the wrong meaning? Most people see mistakes as evidence that they're failing. In reality, mistakes are evidence that they're learning. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't wait until they can speak perfectly before opening their mouths. They guess. They experiment. They say words incorrectly. They build sentences that don't make sense. Adults gently correct them, and then they try again. Day after day, mistake after mistake, their language becomes stronger. Nobody expects a child to speak perfectly on the first attempt. So why do we expect that from ourselves when learning a second language? The truth is that every time you speak English, your brain collects information. It learns which words feel natural, which sounds are difficult, and which sentence patterns need more practice. Without those experiences, your brain has nothing to improve. That's why I'd like you to replace one old belief with a new one. Instead of saying, I made a mistake, so I'm not good at English, try saying, I made a mistake, so I discovered what I should practice next. Notice how different those two sentences feel. The first one ends your progress. The second one moves your progress forward. Imagine you're talking to a colleague and you accidentally say, "You go to the meeting yesterday," instead of, "He went to the meeting yesterday." Does that mean you failed? Not at all. It means you've just identified one grammar pattern that needs a little more attention. Next time, your brain is more likely to remember it because you've actually used it in a real conversation. That's why mistakes are valuable. They give you feedback that textbooks never can. Here's a simple habit you can start today. After every English conversation, don't ask yourself, "Did I make any mistakes?" Instead, ask, "What did I learn from speaking today?" Maybe you learned one new word. Maybe you realized that you need to practice past tense verbs. Maybe you discovered that you can already explain your ideas better than you thought. Every conversation gives you useful information if you choose to look for it. Remember this principle. Mistakes are not proof of your weakness. They are proof that you're actively building a new skill. The people who become fluent aren't the people who never make mistakes. They're the people who keep speaking long enough to learn from them. Now that you've changed the way you see mistakes, it's time to make speaking feel even less frightening. In the next part, you'll learn a simple step-by-step confidence ladder that gradually trains your brain to feel safe speaking English, one small challenge at a time. By now, you've learned two important lessons. Most people aren't judging you as much as you think, and making mistakes isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're learning. But even when you understand these ideas, your body may still feel nervous when it's time to speak. That's completely normal. Confidence doesn't appear because you understand a concept. Confidence grows because you repeatedly experience success. That's why I want to introduce you to what I call the low-stakes ladder. Imagine you're standing at the bottom of a staircase. If you try to jump directly to the top, you'll probably lose your balance. But if you take one step at a time, the climb becomes much easier. Building speaking confidence works the same way. Many learners make one common mistake. They avoid speaking for months because they're afraid, and then they suddenly expect themselves to feel confident during an important job interview or a conversation with a native speaker. That's like avoiding exercise for a year and expecting to run a marathon tomorrow. Your confidence needs gradual training. The first step is the safest one. Speak to yourself. Spend a few minutes each day describing what you're doing, what you're thinking, or what you're planning. There's no audience, no pressure, and no possibility of being judged. You're simply helping your brain become comfortable hearing your own English. Once that feels natural, move to the second step. Speak to your camera. Open the camera on your phone and record yourself talking for 1 or 2 minutes. You don't even have to watch the video if you don't want to. The goal is simply to become comfortable knowing that you're speaking while being recorded. When that no longer feels uncomfortable, take the next step. Send a short voice message to a friend. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. Even a 20-second message is enough. You're slowly teaching your brain that another person can hear your English and nothing bad happens. Only after those steps should you move into live conversations. By the time you reach this stage, speaking no longer feels completely unfamiliar because you've already practiced it many times in safer situations. Let me tell you about Julia. Julia avoided phone calls in English for years. Every time her phone rang, her heart started racing. She worried that she wouldn't understand the other person or that she would freeze in the middle of the conversation. Instead of forcing herself into difficult situations, she followed a gradual plan. For 1 week, she practiced speaking to herself. The following week, she recorded short videos on her phone. Then she began sending brief voice messages to a close friend who was also learning English. Only after several weeks did she start making short phone calls. The amazing part wasn't that her English suddenly became perfect. It didn't. What changed was her relationship with fear. Each small success gave her brain new evidence. I spoke and everything was okay. That thought slowly replaced. If I speak, something embarrassing will happen. Today, Julia still feels nervous before some conversations, but she no longer lets that feeling stop her. Remember this principle. Confidence isn't built by avoiding fear. It's built by taking one small step beyond your comfort zone again and again. In the next part, you'll learn a few simple phrases that can help you stay calm when your mind suddenly goes blank. These expressions act like a safety net, giving you a moment to breathe, organize your thoughts, and continue speaking instead of freezing in silence. Even after you've practiced speaking for weeks, there will still be moments when your mind suddenly goes blank. Someone asks you a question. You understand it. You've learned the vocabulary before. But for a few seconds, every word seems to disappear. If that has ever happened to you, don't panic. It happens to experienced speakers, presenters, teachers, and even native English speakers. The difference is that they don't see those moments as the end of the conversation. They simply use a few natural phrases to give themselves time to think. You can do exactly the same thing. Instead of freezing in silence, learn a few safety net phrases that keep the conversation moving while your brain catches up. The first phrase is one of the simplest and most useful. Give me a brief second to organize my thoughts. This sentence sounds calm and professional. More importantly, it gives you permission to pause instead of feeling pressured to answer immediately. Most people won't think you're struggling. They'll simply assume you're taking a moment to give a thoughtful response. Another excellent phrase is, let me rephrase that more simply. Sometimes the problem isn't that you don't know the answer. You've simply started explaining it in a way that's too complicated. Instead of stopping, begin again with simpler words. Imagine you're describing a project at work and suddenly lose your train of thought. Instead of apologizing or giving up, you can say, let me rephrase that more simply. Then continue with shorter, easier sentences. You'll often find that your ideas become much clearer. Another phrase you can use is, that's a good question. Let me think for a moment. Notice how natural that sounds. You're not hiding your pause. You're using it confidently. Many professionals use this exact expression during meetings and interviews because thoughtful answers are often more valuable than immediate ones. If you forget a specific word, don't let that one missing word stop the entire conversation. Try saying, I can't remember the exact word, but then explain the idea using different words. For example, if you forget the word umbrella, you could say, I can't remember the exact word, but it's the thing people use when it rains. Communication continues. The conversation moves forward. And very often, the other person will naturally help you with a missing word. Here's another useful expression. What I'm trying to say is, this phrase helps when your first explanation isn't as clear as you hoped. Instead of feeling embarrassed, simply introduce your idea again from a different angle. Remember, your goal isn't to produce perfect sentences. Your goal is to help the other person understand you. Now I'd like to give you a small challenge. Choose 3 of these safety phrases and practice them out loud every day for 1 week. Repeat each one several times until it feels completely natural. Then, whenever you speak English, make a promise to yourself. If your mind goes blank, don't become silent. Use one of your safety phrases. Take a breath. Continue speaking. Little by little, your brain will stop associating pauses with panic because you'll always have a simple way to keep the conversation alive. Remember this principle. A pause is not a failure. Silence caused by fear is optional. One calm sentence can give you all the time you need to find your next idea. Now you have one final step to complete. In the last part of this video, we'll talk about what real confidence actually means, why courage matters more than perfection, and how one imperfect sentence today can become the beginning of fluent English tomorrow. As we come to the end of this lesson, I'd like you to remember one idea that has the power to change the way you see yourself as an English learner. Many people believe that confidence comes first. They think, when I stop feeling nervous, then I'll start speaking. But that's not how confidence works. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Every confident English speaker you admire was once a beginner. They also forgot words. They also made grammar mistakes. They also felt nervous during conversations. The difference wasn't that they had no fear. The difference was that they kept speaking even while they felt afraid. That's what courage really means. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to speak even when your voice shakes a little. It's answering the question even if your sentence isn't perfect. It's continuing the conversation even after making a mistake. Every time you do that, you're teaching your brain an important lesson. I was nervous, and I was still okay. Over time, those small moments become evidence. Evidence that you can handle conversations. Evidence that you can recover from mistakes. Evidence that speaking English is no longer something to fear. So here's my challenge for you. Don't promise yourself that you'll speak perfect English tomorrow. Instead, promise yourself that you'll speak one imperfect sentence today. Maybe it's while talking to yourself. Maybe it's in a voice message. Maybe it's during a short conversation with a friend or colleague. It doesn't matter where it happens. What matters is that you take the first step. Because one imperfect sentence today becomes 2 tomorrow. 2 become 10. And one day, you'll realize you're having conversations that once felt impossible. Remember this. Fluent speakers are not fearless people. They're ordinary people who decided that their message was more important than their fear. If this video encouraged you to speak with a little more courage today, subscribe to the channel and join our community. Every lesson is designed to help you build real confidence, develop practical speaking habits, and prove that progress comes from action, not perfection. Keep speaking. Keep learning. And never let fear tell your story when your voice is ready to be heard.